Hey y'all. So it's wild. I haven't done any kind of reading in a long time. I had spent a couple of years practicing on tape reel, and I ended up shutting all of it down because it was all practice. It was all this opportunity to just really get in front of the camera and be more comfortable with it. I've done a lot of trainings. I've done a lot of stuff in front of a camera over the years, especially professionally and everything. And I'm really good when it's just me. And I have a harder time when I have something that I'm supposed to share, if that makes sense. Like, kind of like public speaking. Like, I can speak really well if I'm not speaking from a piece of paper, if I'm not speaking from something that's already planned for me to say, if you will. So I'm a lot better at just speaking from my heart, and I'm a channeler, right? And so I've shared this a lot, and over the years, it's been really interesting for me to receive a lot of confirmation on my alignment with the divine. The information that has been shared with me through that channel, the amount of love that I'm able to experience, I believe, is from NDE, a near-death experience I had at 18. And when I came back with a level of empathy that is indescribable, and it's not able to be, I can't share it in a way that it could be understood in human terms. And as I've grown spiritually, I've noticed more and more how that is something that was gifted to me. And I believe it was gifted to me because it's something that I've experienced across lifetimes. And it's something that helped me to continue to move forward. I've experienced a lot of loss. I've experienced a lot of growth. I've always been a teacher. I've always been a student. So the opportunity to continue to learn, remain to be teachable, everything that comes with that has been such a blessing in my life. I've been sober since July 10th of 2008. And so over the almost past 2 decades, I've grown up in sobriety. And what that's looked like is just, it's wild. And from the very beginning, it was like I had to see it as this cool thing I was embarking on for me to want to continue to do it. Just like I did any drink or any drug. It was like this cool thing that I was doing in my life at the time, right? And so I looked at sobriety and I started sharing it with the people around me, and what the feedback I got back was just like, what you're doing is going to afford you such an amazing future. So I was 26 and a half. I'll be 44 in a couple of weeks. And I just remember walking away from that conversation and being like, what if this is going to be cool? And from that moment forward, it has been. And I asked God for that. I asked God, I was like, God, if it continues to be like this, like inspirational and yes, hard, but, able to talk to people about it and learning to share it with the people around me, which I didn't even know that was advocacy, but that's what that was. And so I've grown being able to learn to share it and talk about it, and communicate through loss. I've lost a lot of people to addiction. It's an extremely hard thing to go through, and it's an extremely hard thing to go through as a family. you know, and I work professionally in the behavioral health field. So I'm speaking from experience working with families and working with individuals and seeing people go back to using and then losing their life because of it. People I was very close to. And, you know, this past year's been extremely hard for me because my brother-in-law passed away from a brain aneurysm. And for me, that was one of the hardest losses I've ever experienced. And what it did is it reminded me how much healing I've showed up for. Because when that happened, I went into a space because I have really, really good emotional regulation, and I have for a while. And that's because I've taken time to process everything. And so because of that fact, I really think through things, and then I think about my thoughts, and like, then I take it further, and then I think about the way I process my thoughts and go through that process, and then have one idea and then come to other solutions. And so it's just really cool that my thought process goes all the way through. And this was actually talked about. I joined a group not too long ago, and they talked about how that was the way my thought process was. You know, it's like it moves all the way through the experience of thought and processing to a solution. And so it was really cool to get that confirmation. But to circle back, when my brother-in-law passed away, I tried to walk through his death like I have a lot of other loss I've experienced. And it was different. And the reason why it was different is because we were so incredibly close. And this was completely freaking unexpected. For him to pass away and so abruptly, and, you know, and from a brain aneurysm. And so, and of course, thinking about my sister and my niece, not having my brother-in-law there. At that point in time, was not able to handle that. And what I mean by that is I was trying so hard to regulate in a system that was not able to regulate. And so what that looked like for me is I couldn't even talk. I was in a place where I was so heightened and I was so low at the same time. I didn't even know that was called anxiety. I mean, that's how long I've been processing and walking through the healing process. I had no clue what was happening to me. But I can tell you right now, every bit of the support I received, and people being gentle with me and offering me grace and just knowing me and seeing me and being there for me, it made all the difference in the world this past year. It has meant so much to me. And it's allowed me this year to be able to talk, articulate a sentence, be able to understand concepts. I'm still a little bit off, but to be able to look at where I was a year ago to where I am today is just a testament to how God is continuing to show up in my life. And it's been such a gift and such a blessing. And hard. It's been so hard, but I've showed up for it every single day. And I am going to continue to show up for it. And because I want to. And that's the main thing. Like, my desire is to continue to show up to heal. My desire is to continue to work in the behavioral health field. My desire is to continue to share with people that it is safe to get help. You know, it's so wild. For my, one of my Christmas presents this year, I have to show it to y'all. I'm like, I am so blown away by this, y'all. Hold on, said, I'm going off the cuff right now. I really want to show you this now. There it is. I received this for Christmas from my parents. And I'm going to share something with you about this when I received this. As a person that has worked in the behavioral health field since I was in college at UNC Charlotte, I got to be part of this program called the Collegiate Recovery Program. And what that looks like is just a program where students that are in recovery have a safe place to go on campus and like live a college life with also learning how to regulate nervous systems, being able to meet other people on the same path. And this is also like any path to recovery. And I think that's so cool too. But anyways, I received this on Christmas and I can't even begin to tell you. I mean, and I'm talking like, I'm speaking about all my colleagues. I'm speaking across so much time that so many people have worked on this being on the front of Time magazine. I'm telling you right now, man. And what's so amazing about this, and I've spent time in my career working on this, right? Like I said, the messaging and being able to talk to people about this. Because what I found when I was doing advocacy without even knowing I was doing it, the coolest thing that was happening was people were so grateful to almost like have space where somebody was talking about it. So that's why I know it's so important. And I've had people say, well, tell me more about that. What is that about? And that's what got me in the mindset, like people want to learn about this. They want to be talking about it. And so I am so grateful because this is being shared with the general public. And as a professional in the behavioral health field, what I've learned is we have a certain, vernacular that we speak from. And I don't think that we think about the fact that in the general public, it's not like there's not an understanding about this. Even if we're talking about the word abuse, like it's so cool. There's a messaging training, and I'm actually working on a training where it's going to be like talking about how we used to think from the standpoint of addiction, and now there's actually a very cool recovery culture happening, and that aligns with this, being able to talk about it. And I'm seeing it more and more. Everybody I know, everybody's sharing their story. And at the end of the day, that just means more people are going to be like, dude, we can talk about this. This is something that, our family can talk about. We can go talk to people in the behavioral health field that understand it. They're not going to judge us. Heck no, we're not. Because that ain't what it's about. It's about just the opportunity to learn more so you can make better informed decisions. You know what I'm saying? And so for me to receive this, I can't even begin to tell you how amazing it is to see this on the front of the Time magazine. And all my colleagues across the world that have worked on this, for this to be the case, for it to be less taboo to talk about. It's extremely important. And I'm so grateful. I will frame it. Right? But this is the deal. Oh my God, I'm only been on here for 15 minutes. All right, this is the deal. This is what I want to do. I'm a reader. I can look at oracle cards and I can receive information, and it's been super cool. And I think one of my greatest confirmations for this is where, oh, okay, so this is how it happens for me. And it's so cool because you'll talk to all different kinds of people. And this happened, and I shared this a lot. Everybody has spiritual gifts, period. Nobody is excluded from that. I'm just like anybody else. We all have these gifts, and a lot of times what we end up doing is we're just nervous by them, or we don't feel like we can share them, or or we, it's just something that's part of our daily living, and it's like, whatever, it's just part of my life. Like, it's no big deal, But the thing is when you start like really appreciating it, I think something really cool happens. And for me, it is exponentially the most greatest love I can possibly even begin to describe. I have always aligned with the light, and I always will. I've shared this across any video I've done because it is so important to do. I learned that in my Reiki training. Anytime doing any kind of Reiki, align with divine white light, align with God's light, set that intention. And it's so important too. That is something very sacred to me. And it always will be. And I will always live by that. And so what happens for me is, so the way that this started for me was I was working at a sober living, and I had come up with this really, really cool concept. It's called connecting through pages. And it was this idea of, how do I bring readers and non-readers into the same space? Because I was a non-reader before I got sober. And so therefore I didn't feel as connected to readers. And then when I got sober, I read my first book and I was so excited. So I was like, how can I create a space where readers and non-readers could come together to share that space? So I was thinking like, and then I'm a super proponent of like, just leaving it up to the universe. So taking one of these bookmarks and putting it in a book, and then leaving the book somewhere random. The next person picks it up. They can put their experience on a website, right? Like, and then I was like, and then I could do cards. And then what would be cool with the cards is people could put like a TED Talk that they really appreciated, or an Audible that they recommend, or an article that they read. So there's all these different things that can translate into reading, where it doesn't just have to be a book or reading a book, And so that's the way, like, anyway, so I came up with this idea. And I was super excited about it. My mom took it to her book club. They thought it was cool. I was like, well, I'm going to go to a book club meetup group, And so I went to this book club meetup group. And I'm sharing about this, And everybody really liked the concept because this was all brand new. So I'm like, oh my God, it's almost like, I didn't even know. It was like a focus group, right? So I'm just starting to share it. Like, what do you think of this, And this woman, and then I didn't feel like I was going to connect with anybody in the group because everybody was a little bit older, and I sit next to this woman, Sylvia Schumacher, or Schumach, and I sit next to her, and she is channeling a book from a star-crossed lover from a different lifetime. And like, this is legit, And I'm like sitting there talking to her. I was like, oh my God. I was like, where is the spiritual meetup group? Where are people like us, And that's when I met Jonathan L. Harris, which was one of the coolest experiences. I walked into this coffee shop. It was called the Eagle Speak. I had never been there. It just so happened to be 5 minutes from where I lived and worked, at the Sober Living. And I walk in the door. This woman, Charlene, was behind the counter. And I got a coffee, because it was a coffee shop. And she just looked at me and broke down in tears. She said, "I see everything. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad." She just she saw everything. And she told me I've been on the red path for a long time. And when she said that to me, it resonated so strongly with me. I learned a lot about when stuff resonates with you, right? And in that moment, it was like, I understood. It's very hard to explain. Everybody goes through this. Everybody has a resonance frequency. And sometimes it can be really freaking wild when it happens, whether it's a time period, right? Like for me, Tai Chi, anytime I do it, I am so incredibly connected to it. I did it for a very, very long time. Every time I do it, I know it. And I don't do it all that often, but I know it. It was the same thing. I had done yoga 3 or 4 times, and I knew the sun salutations without ever seeing them in this life. I knew it. And so it's so wild, like these different experiences, and we all go through them, right? And so it's like, and then I'm learning how, my connection to Reiki, and like sitting in a Reiki attunement for recovery Reiki. And all of a sudden I'm breaking down in tears, and Dr. Mikao Usui is coming through, right? And that's what I'm saying, this channel, and this is the deal. This channel is built through humility. The channel that I have is built through humility. When Dr. Mikao Usui is coming through, when Nikola Tesla's coming through, when my Native American ancestors, when I said, I need y'all to see me, I need you to stand up for me. And they put a ceremonial drum in front of me. And I knew it. I knew the drum. And I barely ever played one. But it was the first thing that helped my anxiety start to go away. And they didn't teach me. They reminded me to come back to the rhythm, right? Come back to the rhythm. And so, meeting Jonathan L. Harris was pretty amazing. And all it was just all this really cool confirmation, And I'm grateful to God. I'm grateful to God for consistently putting me in these spaces. Like, this really cool thing happened. I got to work on this amazing training at my last job that I absolutely loved. And it was called Walking Love into Spaces. And now, oh my God, last night on Christmas night, I had no clue that there were Buddhist monks right now doing a walk for peace across this country. And it was and it's interfaith collaboration, which the training Walking Love into Spaces that we were doing, there is a component within that training that talks about one of the things that we're wanting to see happen as this training rolls out is interfaith collaboration. And I can't even begin to tell you the amount of confirmation coming through with that. I'm blown away, because that training was created through a lot of conversation about the dissonance within faith communities, about substance use disorder, about mental health stuff, and just really creating a space for people within faith communities to talk about it. So what's so cool is expanding that lens even further out, right? Like we were doing this training in that space, but here it is, like this walk for peace with interfaith collaboration with Buddhist monks standing on the church steps. Like, wow, dude. And what's so cool is, like, over the past, I want to say maybe month, I've been having this thing where I'm like, the way things are going to move forward is by people coming together. There will be no way to shift the narrative, because it will all be in peace. It will be people getting together across all walks of life. You know? And you can't spin that. It's just like the No Kings protest. You can't spin that. People are dancing around singing Kumbaya. You can't spin that. Yeah, you can put news in front of it and say stuff. But then you got people dressed up as animals dancing in the street. You got kids, you got families, you got communities coming together, because we're seeing the importance in that, right? And there is such importance in that. Interfaith collaboration is one of the coolest things that's going to start happening, because what is going to be recognized is the common theme of love. Period. And that's what I love about world religions. Because all I knew was Catholicism, but like learning world religions for me was the coolest experience. I was like, that's really awesome. Like, it wasn't, well, I can't do that, or no, I believe this, so I can't hear that, or it was more like this open-mindedness, like, wow, okay, so this is another doctrine, you know, and one that's successful and helpful. And so it's just, it was really amazing. I've always loved Buddhism. I love Taoism. I love Judaism. I love Hinduism. You know, I love the Christian faith. And I have very close friends that are Christian. And I love talking to them. I don't tear them down. I don't say what they believe isn't right. I hold space, and I get to enjoy the fact that they have a faith that works for them, right? And so it's just like this opportunity to see all these amazing things happening as communities come together to share love, to share kindness, you know, generosity, humility. And that's how my channel is developed, through humility. And I'm very grateful for that. And like I said, everybody's got spiritual gifts. Every single one of us, you know. And I've always given so much thanks for it. And I always talk to God about it. And what happens for me is messages come through. So the way my channel works is I'll start getting concepts and just different things come through that I need to share with somebody. I don't know who. But it's just that opportunity for a space to be able to share messages where the right people hear them. And then the opportunity to say, take what you need and leave the rest. If it doesn't resonate with you, that's cool. Then it is not for you. And I think that's a cool part about it too. And to make sure, as somebody that is a channel, to share that, you know? And something I say now may not resonate right now, but it may later on, you know? But what I found happens is it's just this incredible feeling of love. And then information starts coming through. I'll share with you, I was at the beach and I had just gotten into town and I wanted to get some groceries before I went to the house where I was staying. And I walked into the Publix, and of course, you can ask anybody that knows me, and I'm trying to get better about it. Like, I love buying stuff at the grocery store. And I'm very grateful for this. You know, I have to stop doing it because I overbuy stuff. And so I was at the beach and I was so afraid I wasn't going to have enough stuff. And I'm up at the counter, you know, checking out, and it's like they're getting ready to lock the door. Like, I'm one of the last people in there. And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot to get mushrooms, you know. And I was so excited the place I was going had a kitchen. You know, I made sure it had a kitchen. I love to cook and I love to bake. So I leave and I go to the Walmart because Walmart was open 24 hours. And I walk in, I get my mushrooms, and I'm like, oh my God, well, I gotta get little puzzle things for my puzzle, like puzzle trays, and I found those. And then I saw a glow-in-the-dark puzzle. I was like, oh my God, I need that too. So I get these things, and I walk up to the counter, and somehow or another, I'm talking to this woman, and all of a sudden, I'm sharing communication with her from her daughter who had passed away. And that's how things happen for me. God puts me in places to share messages with people that need to hear them. It's happened for a long time. And I'm very grateful for that. And I believe it's because, once again, I stand in humility. I'm grateful for it. And it's just part of my life. I don't know, you know, it's just like one of those things. But I think it's important to share and to talk about it. And so over this past year, where like my whole entire system collapsed, everything around me was coming through, and it was a pretty wild experience. It was anxiety to the umpteenth degree, and I'm so grateful that through all of that, I knew my voice. Like, I knew all this information and everything was coming through me and everything, and I knew my voice. I knew me. And I think that was the greatest gift. No matter how much anxiety I experienced or how much was coming through, because my system was so, like, my auric field completely collapsed. Completely. In 20 years of healing, it completely collapsed. And it's been so wild having it just like rebuild And just, I want to say it's like it's just slowly reestablished itself. But I just have so much more humility and so much more gratitude. And I know that's what happened because of where I'm at today. And looking at the past year and walking through all of it and talking through all of it and talking to God about it. And being able to get to that place where it's like, oh my God, understanding it was anxiety. You know, understanding what anxiety is, you know, after 20 years of healing. I was not in a place. I have walked through so much and regulated my system through so much, but nothing could prepare me for that. Well, for any loss I've experienced. They've all been absolutely horrible. But this one, I couldn't function. Couldn't function. So, I'm functioning. And I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to share my story with you. And I want to pull a card. And, you know, what's been cool with my readings is what I generally do is I'll light the sage and I ask God and my angels and, you know, Archangel Chamuel I work very close with, Dr. Mikao Usui, Nikola Tesla, you know, to come into this space with me. Oh my God, I feel it right now. To come into the space with me and help to convey messages that need to be shared. And then it's like these formulations of communication start coming through, and I know that it's coming through me because I know my voice, right? And I know when it's information coming through, it's very wild. And any channeler will tell you that it's a differentiation, it's a frequency thing. And so I generally will know who's coming through the channel, like with the kind of messaging that comes through. Like Nikola likes to speak in ways where it's like all these connection points. Dr. Mikao Usui likes to talk a lot about flow, a lot about how things flow together. Chamuel is really big on just like the self-love thing and love for others. So it's like these different kinds of messages, and then it can also be like come through all of them together. My Native American ancestors, you know, and so God, I feel it so strongly right now. And so it's just like this feeling that comes through. It's just love. It is absolute, like, it is so incredibly hard to describe in anything human. And a lot of people know about this. And a lot of people have experienced this. But it scares them. Or they don't know how to convey it. But like I'm saying, if you're drawn to a certain time period, it's probably because you were in that time period, right? It's probably because when you resonate with something, or you resonate with the place you're going, you know, if you're driving by somewhere, or if you're traveling and you stop and look at something and it's like, oh my God, I've been here before, but you had never been there before. All these things come back up to kind of show you, you know, these experiences where things resonate and then they don't, and so it's just this opportunity to be able to see that and like witness these things, and it's okay to, it's a really cool thing. It's like I get this download, like I taught with Dr. Makawasui and as a teacher, but the way teaching was back in the day is it was all standing next to each other as it was self-taught. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it was standing next to each other as you learn simultaneously while learning and teaching each other at the same time. So it wasn't like I was his teacher and he was my student only. It was like we were teachers and students together is how it used to be. And I feel like a lot of that continues on with a lot of different practices, when lineages move forward. And Dr. Makawasui, the first time he came through, and Elder Malidoma Somé, before I was with my dear friend that did initiations with him before he passed away. And we were on the way to his house. And I had not read his book. I had not had any communication with him. And she started talking about him, and he just came through so strongly, And so it's just like, it's really cool how that happens. And it's just this overwhelming love that comes through. So anyway, so Dr. Makawasui comes through the channel. And to share a message with my dear friend Serena. Who had gone to Tulum and sat there at the pyramid, at the base of the pyramid, hit a glitch in the matrix because she was there joining timelines, right? She was creating a space for these timelines to actually connect, where she was receiving information to move the lineage forward. And he came through for the first time during that attunement because he had the message for her to give thanks for the way she was honoring him as she moved his lineage forward the way she was. It was one of the coolest experiences. I broke down in tears. It was the most overwhelming love. His love is absolutely, his spirit exudes love across all the practice, all the lineage. And in that moment, I was able to feel every single bit of it. And it was also because of the space we were in was held so well. I felt it the moment I walked in the room. And then we had people within that circle with us that also were able to hold the space in such a beautiful way that his spirit was able to come through. And from that day forward, he comes through the channel. Yeah, man. That's that real shit. That's that sober tripping shit, right? And so, it's so trippy. I've tripped a lot of acid. I've tripped a lot of mushrooms. But it's super cool being sober, experiencing stuff like that. So, all to say, I'm going to pull one of these cards. I really feel like it's going to be this deck. I got this deck in Winston-Salem from this really cool, oh God, what's it called? Oh man, I had the card. Casa, is it Casa? Okay, that was not the right one. Never mind. But it's this, it's the metaphysical store. It's the amazing metaphysical store downtown Winston-Salem. I thought I had the card, but I don't. But I got this deck there, and it's a great deck. I still haven't seen all the cards in this deck. I'm still running into cards, and I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen that before. But just like the way I do this, right, is I'm just going to go ahead and light the sage and say, in divine white light, God light, thank you for always helping me to continue to be a channel of your peace and love. Thank you for the gift of being able to share my story. Thank you for protection and in my space, in my viewer and listener's space, and the space that we are creating together. Let's invite Archangel Chamuel. Also work with Metatron, Archangel Metatron. Dr. Mikao Usui, Nikola Tesla, Elder Malidoma Somé, my Native American ancestors. Thank you. Oh my God. Y'all, it's just like, oh man. It's indescribable. It's an indescribable feeling. Whew. Focus. Focus. Okay. So what I'm getting is like the lens zooming in and out, right? Where it's like, ooh, God almighty, dude. So where you see things very up close. And then you can also zoom the lens out. And what happens when you do that is it's like you can have this perspective of the immediacy, and then you can also zoom the lens out and see a much broader picture. And so when you are doing this, when you are allowing yourself to reflect, when you are allowing yourself to pause, whew, you can see, and then also you can zoom the lens out and like see, you can see like the wide view of the past. And when you're looking at the wide view of the past, you then come in to the present moment, and you can bring it into a new focus. And when you do that, you have this opportunity to see how all these experiences have led to the present moment. And you can also see where you've grown. You can see where you've changed. You can see your decision making. You can see a wide lens on how you interpreted things. You can hold space for new interpretations of old narratives. You can recognize where maybe you weren't supported like you should have been. Or you can see where your focus was askew, right? Not looking at things with the broad lens, because then you're in the present moment at that point. And what's so wild is you can take all those present moments here, Nikola Tesla, all those present moments that you experienced in your past, they were all present moments at one point. So all of them had their own focus in that moment. So all of these moments have happened and were present at one point. And now all those present moments have culminated into this present moment. And so you're going from this wide lens perspective and noticing all those present moments. That have led to this one. But also in the present moment, you can also zoom the lens out and see all the other moments you've been through. And because it's almost, it reminds me of Falling Upwards. Falling Upwards is a really cool book. And what it really says is, like, you take all the first half of your life and you use all those experiences to apply to the second half of your life. And so you learn through what you go through, you know, and that's what helps you apply it to the next steps. So if you look at your experiences, you can think about a time where, you know, something happened, and if it were to have happened at another interval of time, you may not have the tools to be able to walk through it. different intervals. So then we move into grounding and listening. Right? So when we think about roots, think about yourself as a big, great old tree. And all the lines on that tree are all these intervals of experience. And every ring, as you get older, becomes another interval as it grows from the roots. Right? So all the way, think about underneath the ground, Mother Gaia, right? We have the coolest chakra underneath our feet. And the reason why I'm talking about chakras is we all have them. We are energetic beings of light, and we have wheels of energy that run through every meridian of our system, above us and below us. And so these roots have grown firm. From your nature. From nature. And it's steady and it's firm. And so you can start exploring all those rings. All those rings of experience. And the continuity. The continuity. Where's the continuity happening? And then listening to that. See? And here it is right here. Here's the rings as you're going through and processing all that growth. All the rings of experience that you've experienced. And so I feel like that's it. This is dawn. We're looking at the roots at dawn. A beautiful horizon. A beautiful horizon. Looking at all the rings of intervals and intervals of experiences, all at their own present moment, that teach you growth, that teach you to be who you are today. And then you listen. Then you listen. How are you acknowledging all that growth to be where you're at in the present moment right now? The beautiful soul that you are. Here it is, all these rings of experience. And you're finally in a place to really listen. You're not ignoring it. You're noticing how amazing of a energetic being of light you are. You're seeing all the stuff you've walked through. You're looking at the rings of experience, the continuity of it, the commitment, and you're listening. You're listening. You're listening. So what does that commitment look like? What does that commitment look like to this growth? Where are the new rings of experience taking you? It's coming in waves. It's coming in waves. Honor it. Honor that. Honor the rings and the intervals of your experience that are showing you how beautiful of a divine being you are. Seeing the truth. Being able to hold space for your truth. So we got this space. We're looking at the roots. We're looking at all the rings of experience, all the continuity, the strength it takes to grow, the horizon dawning. Maybe you're seeing the horizon. Maybe you're seeing dawn more often. Maybe you're admiring the sunrises, admiring one-of-a-kind experiences. You see the glow that's moving through the roots. Look at that. The sun's reaching through those roots. That's all blue, right? Blue outlines all of that. Well, first off, we got black. Black represents what? Moving through a space of the absence of a bright color, right? But black represents all the colors. You always hear that people that rock black, a lot of the time, they have the most colorful personalities. You know? This idea that it's strength. There's strength in all of that. Strength that moves through where all color is present. All those experiences. This represents fertile ground. More can come up through the soil. It's representative of soil. Because the sun's hitting the roots. It's being illuminated. The roots are being illuminated. You got the blue. So then you're speaking of that. You're speaking of the illumination. You're speaking of these rings of experience. You're listening as you're going back through. Supportive family, right? At the foundation. the love and support of family. Who is your tribe? You know, that's that root. That's the root. Divine wisdom. There's more of that yellow gold, yellow and orange. The light is shining on that divine wisdom. You've been studying, been paying attention. You're seeing how your experiences are coming into focus. You're seeing it from a wide angle, and then you're also seeing it up close in the now moment. You're noticing how everything in your past is helping you in your decision making today. You're studying, you're learning. You're recognizing where you were right. You're recognizing where you were potentially wrong. You're recognizing where it just might be different. And what that's leading to is being able to honor your truth. You are an amazing divine being of light. And you got to start talking about it. And you got to start not even talking about it, but honoring it. Honoring it. Honoring the rings of experience. Honoring that truth. Paying attention and listening. All these intervals. And you're going back through them. You're going back through them. And it's coming to a point now where it's like, it's helping you to recognize your roots, your commitment. It's almost like there's more to it. There's more to it. And you're appreciating that. It's something you couldn't see before. And so here we go. We got, look at this. Look at how this matches. Right? And you know what's so crazy? I couldn't find the truth card, and the two other cards that came out was the family card and then the divine wisdom card. And then underneath that was truth. And I thought I had all three cards sitting next to each other. But these other cards had to be a part of it. Okay? So, your divine wisdom, your grounding is helping to magnify truth. Very cool. And supporting is family. Or family, maybe being around family is helping you to recognize the importance in this. Or thinking about who your family is, who's your tribe, right? Where is your commitment, you know? How cool is this? I get root to rise. Root to rise equals truth. And at the center of that is sharing about your commitment. Honoring it. Where fire and water intersect. Because they can intersect at that one point. Oof. Yeah. It's honoring what you already know. Just trusting it. Grounding into your roots. Allowing the light to illuminate the roots. Seeing all those rings of experience that are helping you to recognize you're a badass mofo. Honoring your commitment. You have been honoring it, but you're recognizing in the ways that you have. So cool. And family. Tribe. Maybe listening to your family, listening to your tribe. By listening to your tribe, you're able to ground. You're able to see the truth. You're able to recognize how amazing you are. You're able to listen to that. You're able to receive it. You're able to receive it. You're able to receive the confirmation. Whereas at one point you weren't able to receive it. Today you do. And it feels good. It's all leading here. In the way that your intervals of experience are now informing your experience today. And it's helping make you as the tree grow stronger. Seeing that dawn, you're seeing the sun in a whole new way. It's a wide lens. It's not so narrow. Just seeing it differently. And it's this interval of experience of seeing just the sun differently is opening up all of this. Trusting your tribe. Trusting the divine wisdom. You've been studying, you've been getting confirmation. And it's making you happy because you're realizing how much of a badass you are. You're a divine being of light. Here with a really cool commitment that you have been honoring to an extent, but ready to honor it in a new way. All these things that you're seeing, you're able to understand, you're able to get the confirmation, and actually it resonates. It's resonating. This and this. You're grounding. into the divine wisdom. The divine wisdom is also, it's been there. It's been there. And you're open to that resonance. Your frequency is shifted for you to actually recognize it. And it feels really good. And this is what you're feeling. This is what you're listening to. It's all inner, your inner standing. Your inner standing. Trusting your tribe. Trusting your tribe. Trusting what they say. Listening. Through grounding, through divine wisdom, reach the truth. It's an amazing commitment. Feel like you're here on a mission. And you're open to receiving that. You're open to hearing it. You're open to information that gives you confirmation that that's the case. It's cool. All right, I'll pull one more card. All right, so it starts with grounding, listening. So you're grounding through all these rings of experience. I keep getting a vision of it. All these rings of experience, all the continuity, feeling the resonance of the continuity of the commitment leads you to trusting your tribe, the resonance of your tribe. Not only trusting the resonance of your tribe, but also really, really trusting the divine wisdom. The sun is illuminating that through your roots. Through your roots. So you're recognizing that through your experience, a lot of your commitment, you're resonating with it, you're seeing it. It's a different kind of vision, right? This isn't like vision. This is being able to see it from from that focus, that resonant focus. You're seeing it from a resonant focus. You're seeing it from a perspective of this commitment that you've had. You're seeing it through the eyes of that sun, how you're looking at the sun differently. And it all started with that. It all started with just looking at the sun a little bit different. And it started there. Like, just looking at it a little bit different. And then it was like, huh. And then when you did that, it created these intervals of thought. Oh my God, I feel it so strongly. It created these intervals of thought where it's like you're looking at all the different times that you could have looked at things like you were looking at that sun in that moment when you saw it with a resonant frequency. That's why the sun is all the way into the roots. Not only is the sun, that red's there, So it's this supreme stability. Seeing that sun with the resonant frequency is allowing you to look back at every interval with how you're experiencing the sun today. Because you just saw the sun a little bit differently. And when you looked at that sun a little bit differently, it changed everything. It changed how you look at all your rings of growth. It's kind of blowing your mind in a really good way. Cool. I wish I could experience that all over again. It's a really cool feeling. It's a really amazing feeling. And I'm glad that you're going through it. I'm here to support you any way I can. So cool. Being able to visualize through a resonant frequency of love. It's love. It's love. Like through and through. Once again, look at all the circles, right? It's like rings on a tree. You know? Seeing how your experiences have been just like how you're seeing the sun now. So you see your commitment. You see the commitment. This is the connection with the soul star chakra. It's the one above the head. A lot of people that see visualizations and have connections to higher realms. That's what's happening here. That sun is illuminating all of that. What's cool is you're recognizing how it's been present the whole time. You just see a little bit different. That focus. Cool, man. All right, I'll pull one more. This is what's starting to happen. And what happens with self-mastery? What happens with self-mastery? This starts coming through. And what's amazing is the humility. You're recognizing that is at the core of self-mastery. And how anytime you have that humility, this happens. Look how it's got the sun all the way around it. Can't write this stuff, right? So cool. Oh my God. Holy shit. All right, so look, grounding into the roots, right? Trusting your tribe, what your tribe's been saying. Feeling the love. Love's at the center of all of it. God, they're just having me pull all these cards. So they're all supportive. Let's bring in clarity. You're seeing clarity. It's when you tap into your inner strength. It gives you humility. It gives you you have humility a lot of the time. When you're tapping into your inner strength. It's aligning you here. It's what you feel a lot of the time. Notice how this is a little bit lighter. So, they don't want me to point that out. So, you see how it all comes together. And it's got, as the sun's coming up. Sun's coming up. That's what it's doing. Start to feel that so strongly. You see all that sun, dude? You see that? How that sun is igniting this power. Personal power. Personal power is built in humility. Right? This kind of power. This kind of power. This kind of power. Right here. This kind of personal power is built through humility. And you're listening. To the truth. It's been present the whole time. But the second you looked at that sun a little bit differently, it's got you looking at everything now like you look at that sun. Just a little bit of a different view. And now it's in everything. That sun, that view of that sun, it's in everything. It's really cool. That was the starting point. Is how you looked at that sun a little bit differently. And then it's been in every interval. That same view of the sun is in everything. Cool, man. You're a divine being of light. And it's giving you the I am presence. It's getting you to look at I am. You see all that blue and green? A little bit of this orange. Got a bunch of yellow. The trees. Look at the growth from the trees. Being able to rest your head on the top. As you're just experiencing the whole entire thing. As you're going back through all those intervals of experience. Able to see it from a higher perspective. Yeah. Oof. God, I feel that so strongly. That's what it's helping with. Your creativity. All solar plexus. I mean, not solar plexus. Sacral. But solar plexus too. I mean, that's the other thing. The sun. So you're finding balance. Confidence. Confidence is coming through the solar plexus. And now you're wanting to get creative. You're wanting to work on your creativity. It's amazing. Look, you got your blues. You got your reds, your oranges, your yellows. Yeah. It's surrounded by the white light. Right? You're a beautiful being of light. And the more you recognize it, it shines through in your creativity. It shines through your truth. You're listening. To your own self-mastery. To how you have had your own inner strength. To where you are appreciating your personal power through humility, which is leading to more conversations with the angels and masters who are sharing this with you. And it's just a resonant frequency. You just know. Trust this. Trust this. They've been talking to you for a while. Trust it. Oh my God, it was so awesome. And it was so funny how, you know, different times, different readings are going to be different things. And what's so wild to me is sometimes it's just going to be those original cards. And then other times it's like, no, you got to show this one, and this is part of it, and this is surrounding it. And so it's all this amazingness that comes, and they wanted me to show one more, and I think this is important. And it's that balance. Oof. Look at how illuminated and beautiful that is. I feel like it's even more so than the screen. I'm like, how is that as bright as it is right now? Is where my full entire thought is going. That is so bright. Because all the balance is coming into focus through the sun. Through that experience of the sun. And it's so cool. It's creating this. It's like it's a frequency. It's a frequency, and it feels really good. And it's keeping you really, really stable. Yep. Wow. Wow. All right. Thank you for giving me this time. Thank you for being here. And I look forward to the opportunity to start doing more readings. All right. Deuces.